You just did it. You picked up your phone, glanced at the screen, and put it back down. Nothing was there. No message, no alert, no reason. But your thumb moved anyway. You do this about 96 times a day. Once every 10 minutes you're awake. You don't decide to do it. Your hand just drifts toward the glowing rectangle like it's pulled by an invisible string. Most people think this is a modern sickness, a symptom of bad apps and weak willpower. But the real answer is far stranger and far older than any app store. Because the thing that reaches for your phone isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just 300,000 years too late. Let's go back. It is not to last year, not to the birth of the smartphone. Back to the open grasslands of Africa, where a small band of humans is trying not to die. There's no supermarket, no calendar, no promise that tomorrow looks like today. Food appears and vanishes. Predators come and go. A single missed detail, a rustle in the grass, a shift in the wind could mean the end of everything. In that world, one trait kept you alive above almost all others. Attention to change. The brain that noticed the new thing survived. The brain that ignored it did not. So your ancestors were selected, generation after generation, for a nervous system that could not leave the environment alone. A brain that constantly asked one quiet question. What's new? What's new? What's new? That question never went away. You're asking it right now. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain didn't reward you for finding food or safety. It rewarded you for seeking it. This is one of the most misunderstood facts in all of neuroscience, and it changes everything about how you see yourself. The chemical everyone blames, dopamine, was never the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of anticipation. A neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz proved this in a now famous set of experiments with monkeys. He gave them a sip of juice and watched their dopamine neurons fire with delight. Simple enough. But then he added a signal, a light, a moment before the juice arrived, and something remarkable happened. After a few rounds, the dopamine stopped firing when the juice touched their tongues. It started firing at the light, at the promise, at the maybe. The reward itself became almost boring. The wanting became everything. Sit with that for a second. Your brain gives you the biggest chemical rush, not when you get the thing, but in the trembling instant just before. When you still don't know. When it might be amazing. When it might be nothing. That gap, that flickering uncertainty, is the exact sensation you feel 1,000 times a day. Screen after screen. Pull after pull. Now think about what a phone actually is. It is a small machine that manufactures that gap on demand. You pick it up not knowing what's there. Maybe a message from someone you love. Maybe nothing. Maybe a photo, a like, a piece of news that changes your afternoon. Maybe silence. You cannot predict it. And that unpredictability isn't a flaw in the design. It's the entire engine. There's a name for this pattern, and it comes from a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. In the middle of the last century, Skinner put animals in boxes with levers. When a lever gave a reward every single time, the animals pressed it calmly only when they were hungry, predictable, controlled. But when Skinner made the reward random, sometimes food, sometimes nothing, no way to know, the animals changed. They pressed that lever obsessively, again and again and again, long after they were full, chasing a payoff that might come on the next press or the one after that. He called it a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. It is the most powerful behavioral pattern ever discovered. It is why slot machines exist. And it is, almost exactly, the feeling of pulling down to refresh a feed that might or might not have something new. You are the animal in the box. The lever is in your pocket. And the reward is random on purpose. But don't mistake this for a story about being tricked. That's the shallow version. The deeper truth is that the machine only works because it's speaking a language your brain already spoke. The apps didn't install the wanting. The wanting was already there, ancient and humming, waiting for something to point it at. Long before there were screens, there were horizons. Your ancestors scanned them constantly. Over that ridge, was there water? Beyond those trees, was there danger, or was there a herd that would feed the whole tribe for a week? The scanning was the survival, and the ones who scanned the most, who could never quite relax, who always felt that low itch of what's out there, they're the ones who lived long enough to become your great-great-grandparents 10,000 times over. You are the descendant of the restless. The calm ones, the satisfied ones, the ones who saw a quiet meadow and simply stopped looking, they were more likely to miss the thing that mattered. You didn't inherit their peace. You inherited the itch. The neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky describes this beautifully. He points out that in a world of uncertain rewards, dopamine doesn't just rise a little. It rises higher than it would for a sure thing. The maybe is more intoxicating than the yes. A guaranteed reward is pleasant, but an uncertain one, where the odds hover somewhere in the middle, that's where the chemical roars. Your ancestors lived in a world of maybes. Maybe the hunt succeeds. Maybe the berries are ripe. Maybe the stranger over the hill is a friend. Their entire existence was a slot machine, and the payout was staying alive. So the machinery that makes you glance at a dark screen for no reason isn't a defect. It's a masterpiece. It's the same circuitry that let a fragile, clawless, slow-running primate spread across an entire planet. The problem isn't the wanting. The problem is that the wanting has nowhere real to go. Because here's the twist. In the ancient world, the scanning ended in something. You looked, and eventually you found. Water, food, a face you knew. The seeking led somewhere, and then it stopped, and you rested, and the loop completed. The hunt had an ending, but a feed has no ending. It is designed, quite deliberately, to never complete. There is always one more post, one more video, one more pull. The horizon your ancestors scanned had an edge. The one in your hand does not. A researcher named Larry Rosen, who spent years studying how people actually use their devices, found something haunting in his data. People don't reach for their phones because they got a notification. They reach for them out of a low, background anxiety, a discomfort that builds every few minutes until they check, feel a flicker of relief, and set the phone down, only for the discomfort to begin building again immediately. He measured it. The relief lasts minutes, sometimes seconds. Then the itch returns, right on schedule, like a tide that never goes out. Does that sound familiar? That vague unease when your phone is in another room. That phantom buzz in your pocket when nothing buzzed at all. That's not addiction in the way we usually mean it. It's something stranger. It's a Stone Age alarm system going off in a world it was never designed for, firing again and again at a threat that never comes and a reward that never satisfies. Your brain is scanning the grassland, but there is no grassland anymore. There's just the screen, offering an infinite, edgeless horizon that your ancient wiring cannot stop searching, because searching is the one thing it was built above all to do. And yet, knowing this changes something. Because once you see the string pulling your thumb, once you understand that the reach isn't weakness but inheritance, you can finally do something no ancestor of yours ever could. You can notice the itch without obeying it. You can feel that low hum of what's new. And instead of reaching, you can simply watch it rise and fall. You can recognize it as a message from a much older world, a world that needed you to never stop looking, and you can answer it gently. Not now. There's nothing over that ridge. You're safe. The people around you glancing down at their palms in the elevator, in the waiting room, at the dinner table, they're not weak either. They're doing the oldest thing humans have ever done. They're scanning the horizon for something that might change everything. They just don't know that the horizon moved into their hand, and that it stretches on forever, and that it was built by people who studied exactly how their ancestors survived, and then sold it back to them one pull at a time. So the next time your hand drifts toward the glowing rectangle for no reason at all, stop. Look at it. That reach is 300,000 years old. It carried your bloodline across deserts and ice ages and oceans. It is not your enemy. It is the reason you exist. You just did it again, didn't you? You picked up your phone. But this time, maybe, you know exactly who's really reaching.